Mayday protests are sweeping the country, with left-wing groups organizing on a pro-socialist platform, calling to tax the rich. Watch.
The idea that my politics are too radical, I find somewhat laughable. It's not surprising that the Republican Party is going to attack me with that. I mean, these are a lot of people who've never worked a day in their lives. And if they have, it certainly hasn't been with their hands.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown, and if the ones that leave, like, bye.
The reasoning has always been from centrist Democrats claiming that people like AOC, people like Zohran Mamdani, people like Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib can only win in deep blue areas. Deep blue areas where the electorate resembles a genderqueer English major that is getting an education in a liberal arts college with 150 other people, okay? That's not the case.
Some blue cities like Chicago are even disrupting schools to drive student participation, letting them skip class. The Chicago Teachers Union declaring it a day of civic action. And as the labor movement continues getting traction with young people embracing a pro-socialist platform, one protester doesn't even know what he's rallying behind. Watch.
You got the Party for Socialism. You believe in socialism?
Not necessarily. Kind of.
You know what socialism is?
Not really. Not too much, but yeah.
Saturday in America host Kayleigh McEnany is here now. Kayleigh, I look at this and I really miss Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
I mean, he was somebody who was on the campuses in the most effective way possible, which is why I think they took him out, why they executed him. He was effective in pushing back on what the left has been trying to do. They've had a captive audience for decades with indoctrination. And Charlie and Turning Point were providing that answer on campus, weren't they?
Yeah, and Charlie understood that while this is a failed ideology, it's also a potent one.
Yes.
And it's one that has to be countered. I mean, I've heard others say, oh, Zohran Mamdani, Katie Wilson laughing this off. It's socialist. It's just deep blue jurisdictions. No, this has an appeal to young people who feel otherwise maybe displaced or economically disadvantaged. And this is why it's so important to teach this. My mom said back when I was in school, they taught about the ills of socialism. Now we let kids skip school to protest essentially on behalf of socialism. Boy, how we've changed. And it's insidious when 68% of the Democratic Party says this is a positive ideology. It's an ideology that's been tested. It's not some faculty idea. It's one that's been tested in practice and failed every time it's been tried.
I'm always reminded of one of my very favorite sayings, which is when the pupil is ready, the teacher will be there, which is kind of what you're always talking about. The fact that, once the mind of a young person is opened up to something, if you're not there to teach them the right thing, somebody else is going to teach them the wrong thing.
Yeah, I always say, if you're not teaching your kids about socialism and the virtues of capitalism, boy, somebody else is going to do it.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know you guys are all over this. Fox is all over this. The reporting yesterday that there are 600 groups behind this that have $2 billion in funding, and it's being used in this manner. I keenly listened last week when Chip Roy said to me he's been having conversations with the administration that SPLC might have just been the tip of the iceberg and that they are actually looking at these Marxist socialist networks of groups and their connections. I really hope we see more litigation on that front if there is wrongdoing, because we've got to go after these organizations. If they're engaged in any sort of nefarious activity, he wouldn't go more than that. But there is a definite suggestion that these networks are being looked at.
Kayleigh, let's broaden it a little bit, though, because this message is getting through in elections because we now have a list of socialists that I have said that the Democrat Party is now officially the party of Bernie Sanders. These are candidates running on the platform that 10 years ago Bernie Sanders was saying it and people were laughing it off. Now candidates are getting elected. It's not just here in New York City with Zohran Mamdani, Katie Wilson out in Seattle, and Lilia Mejia in New Jersey, who won Mikey Sherrill's seat. She was a moderate, and Mejia is now possibly the most liberal far-left member of Congress. And then, of course, you've got the oysterman, Graham Plattner, who's a neophyte politician that has a Nazi tattoo and wants to abolish ICE, Hassan Piker, that's been driving it, getting more and more traction with young people. And of course, AOC, that if you think about it, AOC was really kind of the first major win, if you will, for Sanders taking over the Democrat Party.
That's right. And Rachel makes a great point in saying if you're not teaching your children about this, someone is. You brought up the fantastic point today that preschools are teaching about social justice. I started thinking about my 3-year-old who can barely put a sentence together. And thank God his school doesn't engage in this activity, but there are schools that are. It's wild.
That's what they do in Cuba, Kayleigh. That's what they do in Cuba.
Exactly right. And it's so subtle. I was watching a pop culture series, one of these series you follow show by show. I ended up stopped watching it because midway through, they were bringing these socialist ideas forward in a way that was packaged so bright and shiny. The girl didn't have health care, and it was a sad story. And she gravitates towards taking on the higher-ups and the elites, which makes sense on a surface level until you dig down and realize Ken Griffin is creating 15,000 jobs permanently, 7,000 jobs with the project, and you run the billionaires out, you run the jobs out, the wealth, the taxation, the charitable income, et cetera.
What's the response, though, for the right? Like, how should the right respond to this trend? And I mean, it's always been there, but now we're seeing them take power. What should the right be doing?
I think the answer is where you began. Charlie Kirk understood it. And the people that Charlie Kirk trained, Andrew Colvett, Tyler Boyer, Erica, his wife, who sat with him and his brilliant ideas every day. This organization is the home. They understand how to appeal to young people. They're on campuses. And this is why the left is endeavoring to create an organization to take on Turning Point. We have to start there. We have to fill schools that do not engage in this activity with our students. And we have to try to fix the institutions that are there by withholding donor money from institutions that engage in this.
So this is not just protesters. You actually have Democrats in power who are sort of acting on a lot of this stuff. The Department of Justice is still uncovering examples where the previous administration, the Biden administration, actually used the Justice Department to actually go after people based on politics. Tell us about some of that.
I could not believe, I could, but yet I still could not, this 557-page report. I woke up in the middle of the night 2 nights ago. I couldn't stop reading it because everything we have covered on this network, from the parents being targeted to the priests being targeted, the radical traditional Catholics, the pro-life protesters, some of whom I sat across from and interviewed, we now have the text messages that went on in the DOJ behind this. We have documents. I found a document where a prosecutor was calling Christian pro-life views culty. This is what they think of us. And the question that I have is this. How far up the chain did this go? Were these rogue prosecutors? Was it Merrick Garland orchestrating it? Was it Joe Biden orchestrating this? How far up the chain did this go? Because you look at these examples, this seems coordinated.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.